You heard our conversation with Kurt Warner, and you thought it was interesting what he had to say about the Bears quarterback position.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot because you have a really gifted athlete who's done some good things in Justin Fields. He's not old. He's just, and he's also had, as Kurt told you, he had a lot of transition around him, in terms of offensive coordinators and everything else. Now, if you sit there and say, all right, we believe that Caleb is special, and we think he is as close to can't miss as we can get, then I do think it's a movie probably made. Because I don't think there's anything, again, and I'm not in the building in the Bears building, but I don't think there's anything they could say definitively as, oh, he is, he's a sure thing. Because it's not like he's done what CJ just did, right, in Houston. He could be really good. He also could be like pretty good. And if he's just pretty good and he's up and down, and you're sitting there going, man, we passed up a chance to have a legit franchise quarterback. And look, maybe they feel that way about Drake May. I have no idea. It's almost like it feels like it's safer in an optics way to trade him and then hit the reset button. But I know that that's not a great answer either. It just really depends to me on what you feel like about these other quarterbacks coming out. And again, Caleb does some remarkable stuff on film. He's also, I don't know if he's picked up some bad habits because he's played behind a bad offensive line this year, because he's had a bad defense that, has been on the other side of the team for much of his career in college. I don't know what, he certainly had good skill guys around him. He just didn't have a good offensive line.
So if you're the GM, do you put all of your eggs into the Caleb Williams basket?
I would. I just think he is such a gifted passer. I think the things you have to feel really comfortable about, and this goes for anybody, I think you have to have a good offensive line in front of him. But I think Justin Fields can do some spectacular stuff when he has nothing around him. Ultimately, I think, that could be a 5-win team. And with some spectacular highlights, the question is, can you be the franchise guy? And again, I'm not saying Justin can't be that guy. He's still really young. And by the way, he's had a bunch of different, coordinators over his college time, because he started at Georgia, then obviously went to Ohio State, did really well there. Again, and I'm not in the, it's like we're not in the meetings that are going to happen in Indianapolis. They're not in the meetings that are going to happen after the combine. To see, okay, what do we really believe? Like, I know enough people inside USC that think really highly of Caleb. I think there's some circumstance around him that makes it, there's no such thing as a sure thing. There just isn't. I remember last year, not around this time, but maybe like a month after the draft, there was a lot of debate over how much these cognitive tests really mattered compared to what people saw on film from C.J. Stroud. I thought C.J. Stroud was the safer pick because he's a physically bigger guy than Bryce, but that's not what this discussion is now. It's just a different question, but that's why it's so interesting of the draft.
And C.J. Stroud has made it that much more difficult for every other quarterback coming out because he's made it look so easy. And, you can't compare. And then you see how these are the two guys that everyone's talking about. It depends on who the coach is, what the lines look like, but who do you expect to shine in this combine?
As the quarterbacks, Caleb's skill set is really impressive. Just as he's almost built like a running back in a lot of ways. He's really sturdy. He is very elusive and strong. I get why he's compared to physically sometimes to Patrick Mahomes. That's unfair to both of them, because one guy is on track to be one of the greatest NFL players in the history of the sport. The other guy hasn't really done anything. He's just had a team that won 7 games at USC. But I think I could see that part, doing well. I'm interested to see what Jaden Daniels, how he is in the draft process, because he had an amazing year and he improved so much at UCLA from what the guy he was at Arizona State. Now, physically, he's not a big guy. I think people will see he's pretty wiry. He's gotten a lot bigger since he was, first got to Arizona State. But I think he's going to be an interesting evaluation. The other one I think will be interesting is J.J. McCarthy, because, J.J. is also a really gifted, I think similar to Daniels, where, he's a guy who might run in the 4.4s or at least low 4.5s. And unlike the other guys, he was not asked to do a ton as a passer. I'm not saying they didn't throw it at all, because he definitely throws well on the run. There's a lot of stuff that I think would impress people, and he's a winner. I mean, you see what he did, and I think some of the character stuff, I think for him, I think will play well in regards to maybe the statistics. And I don't think the NFL gets caught up in, oh, this guy threw for 4,000 yards, whereas this guy threw for 2,500. I think they want to see certain things on film, and I think they'll see it. I think those are two really interesting evaluations. And the other one that to me is the biggest one, and Rich and I talked about him probably a month ago, was Michael Penix Jr., just because of there's just a lot I think the NFL is going to be sorting through, but he had a spectacular time at Washington those last 2 years.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.